How can you actually get your property to sell quickly? In today's Real Estate Roundup podcast, we're going to be telling you guys the three strategies you can actually use and leverage to sell your property faster if you have a property that isn't necessarily up to what we call 2025 standards. So, my name is Kobe Zinn, and I'm joined here today by my co host, Tony Flores, who is a real estate professional out of San Antonio, Texas. And we're going to be sharing with you guys the three strategies that Tony recommends to actually have your property sell faster if you have a property that you think might sit on the market for a while. So, Tony, why don't you start us off and kind of explain why some properties might sit on the market for longer than others and what these three strategies that you recommend are?
Awesome. Yeah. So some great strategies to get your property sold. So first of all, different people are in different positions. Are they looking to sell for the highest price and maximize that property's value? Okay. If so, I've got cool strategies to do that. If not, if their goal is to just to say, look, it is what it is. Let's just get it sold. So I'm seeing properties that we're talking about 1980s build, 1990s build, and even the 2000s. And, the shoppers are looking for houses that wow them. They're looking for houses that say, wow, I step in here and I feel like this is awesome. I can bring my family and friends over and we can all say, wow, they can all say, wow, look at this beautiful house, look at this gorgeous fixtures, everything matches, and everyone's happy, everyone's, you know, thinks that this is the most beautiful house that they've seen. There's a lot of properties out there that don't have that appeal. They are just houses that are built well, that are functional, and they just are not appealing to buyers. So what happens with those properties? The properties typically sit on market and they're priced likely they're usually priced appropriate for the neighborhood, but they're not priced for the upgrades and updates that they don't have. Why? It's because sometimes the sellers are looking at the pricing models, they're looking at the Zillows and the Zestimates and the county appraisals and say, well, my county appraisal says it's worth this. But guess what? The shoppers are saying, well, in that price range, I'm looking at something that looks like that. And, we're looking at things with brass fixtures, some of those were outdated, many years ago. So what can you do to make your house sell? Well, you really have kind of three options. You can discount the house. So discount the house means that typically they'll get an investor and they'll say, look, we're going to rip out the carpets, we're going to repaint, we're going to change out the fixtures, and we're going to make it beautiful. And for us to do that, we're going to have to buy it at a discount. We're going to buy it. Here's the full retail value. We're going to take off 30% of the full retail value, and we're going to take off what it's going to cost to make it beautiful. Okay. So they're not buying at 70% of what a full retail value is. They're buying it 70% minus those repairs and all those things that have to do, because they have to pay for their time, they have to pay for the money that costs to borrow it, and they have to pay to sell it as well. So the typical offer on a property that could be worth, 200,000. It's just going with a simple $200,000 property. It's going to take off, 60,000 right off the bat, and then it's going to discount minus the repairs. So that's going to be a 140 offer minus the cost of repairs. Okay. So that's an investor purchase. So what do you want to do? Do you want to take that? Maybe the offer might be, 140 minus 30,000 in repairs. So they're going to offer 110 on that property. That might work for your seller. In other cases, well, what if the seller does that $30,000 worth of updates and upgrades? Do they have the money to do that? If so, they can spend, potentially $30,000. Of course, you want to get vetted contractors. You want to make sure that the work is done well and it's done to the kind of today's standards, right? So you have to kind of manage that, find out who can be trusted and who's going to be able to do the work and who's going to follow through with it, right? Could there be delays? If you're managing it, then, you know, then you're going to have a lot of phone calls. It could take you time away from work. So that's option number 2. Pay for it, manage it, and then what you'll do is you recoup the benefits from it, right? Because you'll be able to sell it faster and you'll be able to make the end buyer happy. So that does take time, it does take effort, and certainly it's going to take some money coming out from whatever source, from savings or from from whatever you want to do. The third option is, I work with multiple vendors and contractors that will actually do those updates and upgrades, and they don't get paid till closing. So you get the benefit of getting the house updated, getting it upgraded, getting it sold faster, and not having to come out of pocket for those benefits. So it's a really great option. And if you want more information about it, just message me. I'd be happy to share more information, get you the information, and we can work together possibly on getting their house listed and get it ready for sale and show it in its best light.
Yeah. So those are three, pretty good options, right, for sellers to kind of consider as far as how to get your home sold quicker, right, on the market. Because not everybody, like you mentioned, owns a home that is, necessarily completely fixed up, right? If you're selling your home, right, you've probably lived in it for a little while. So it's not, it's pretty common that your house isn't perfect, right? It's not, presentable as, like a new construction home, right? Which is part of kind of what you're competing with. So
Right.
you have a couple options there, right? You can just sell it for a discount because investors, they have to buy it, they have to rehab it, right? Which comes out of their pocket, and then they have to make a profit on it. So there's going to be a pretty steep discount, right? Or you could fix it up yourself, which again, it's not just the money that goes into it, but there's a lot of stress, right, that goes into it, right? If you've never
Hmm.
done anything like this before, it could be very difficult to find the right contractors to manage them correctly, right? You don't know what you don't know. So you don't know if the contractor is doing a good job for their price or, right, if they're not doing a good job for the price that you're paying them. And the
Right.
third option that you mentioned is actually, I think, really beneficial for sellers, which is they work with vendors and then they'll help you fix up your home, but you don't pay them until you actually close on the home, right? So actually, after you get paid, then you pay your contractor. So that's a really great option, I think, for
Yes.
sellers to move forward with that.
Yeah, and it works out great because they're getting the benefit of getting those updates and upgrades, and these the ones that I use, they're kind of have more of a standardized process, so they know what's going to sell best. They have great color palettes. They know what's the most modern things, what people are looking for. They get the ones that are most appealing, and then so there's not like, okay, well, let's shop for this or shop for that. No, they already have a great suite of products regarding, mirrors, fixtures, and things that have high appeal, and so that those will get sold faster.
Right. So that was the other thing, right? It's like figuring out what are some of the things that you actually need to get fixed. Because a lot of sellers, they don't know that, right? Maybe they think in their mind, right, that, something that is really important as far as, hey, I need to spend a lot of money getting this part of the home fixed up
Hmm.
may actually not be the best return on their time and their money, but they might have left something out that could have been really important as far as pricing the home or, just presenting it, right? Like you mentioned all the time, presenting it in the best light in front of potential buyers, in front of the consumer pool.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Yeah. So is there any other tips that you have as far as like for sellers that, when they're using these vendors, are they getting a better return on their investment as far as after closing? Is this something that even if they wanted to maybe sell quickly, but also wanted to get a good price, right? Because maybe they're moving into a new home, right? Or maybe they just, need the equity or need the money to, maybe for their retirement. Is that something that you're seeing as well when they go through these vendors?
Right, for sure. Yeah. So what I'm seeing is, you know, the properties that I've worked with my sellers with on that the house showed well compared to the houses that were on market. It actually sold for the right price, and it sold in a quicker amount of time. And so that made the seller happy because they had other plans. They didn't want it to sit on the market. In this one case I remember in particular, the seller had done a lot of updates on the downstairs, but on the upstairs, the master bathroom wasn't updated, and that's a big selling point. The master bathroom wasn't updated, and there was some paint that needed to be done. So the return on investment, they spent $1, they probably got $2 back on it. So they definitely and they sold it faster, so they were certainly happy with the result of that.
Yeah. So that's actually really good, right? They're getting a good return on their investment, right? And they're selling their property
Hmm.
faster. Now, as far as the actual construction or the, rehabbing process, right? Fixing up the home. Because I understand there's a lot of sellers that, maybe want to have a timeline as far as when they need to be, moved out of the home, right? Maybe when they need to move into a new home, just,
Hmm.
maybe they're going to a new city or something like that. As far as the timeline, right? What does that look like for, maybe some of these vendors to come in and fix everything up and get it on the market?
Hmm.
Does that usually work in the favor of the sellers to, have that process done quickly?
Sure. And of course, all this is done with the seller's permission, with what the seller agrees to. Like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. This is the timeline. So typically, depending on how much work needs to be done, some of the work, some of the projects can be done in as little as 2 weeks, and some take a little bit longer if there's more things that need to be done. But it all depends on the scope of work, and the scope of work is described in the beginning. Okay, this is what we're looking for, and then okay, so based on the manpower, they'll get it scheduled, and yeah, it happens in a quick amount of time. We're not second guessing, we're not vetting, and they've already been pre-vetted, so we can just make a decision and see what will have the most appeal and show best on the listing day.
Right. So it's actually going to save the sellers time
Sure.
because they don't have to go out there and find their own contractors and, interview people and vet them. And,
Hmm.
as they're managing them throughout the actual construction process, right, they may or may not even know what's going on. And that could draw out the process as well. So it's
Right.
actually a really great option that you brought up that I don't think a lot of people know. Right. That's actually out there to help them, get their home market ready.
Yeah. And I'm always looking for creative ways to help my clients in, what is the best result going to be for them, and what can I do it in a shorter amount of time, because that's going to, at the end of the day, it's going to make them happy. And that's what I want to provide. Services that are unique and different and creative. So that's what I try to do.
Yep, absolutely. So if you guys are interested in that as an option, right, make sure, like Tony said, to reach out to him directly. His contact information is in the description down below. And, you guys can also check out some of our other videos where we talk about how to value your home and also what are some of the best ways to get the most return on your home as well when it comes to fixing up your property. So if you are somebody out there in the market looking to put your home on the open market, make sure to reach out to Tony directly or go check out some of our other videos on how to best price your home as well. But other than that, I appreciate you, Tony, for sharing these tips with us here today. Appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Real Estate Roundup. Take care.